Hi, everyone. This is Betsy Wurzel, your host of Chatting with Betsy on Passionate Rural Talk Radio, where our mantra is to educate, enlighten, and entertain. Folks, I love what I do. You know that because I tell you, and I am grateful and blessed to do what I do. And I have with me today a phenomenal guest. My guest has been on before, and I wanted my guest on again because we have a great connection, and Alicia McBride is a sweetheart, and she is just a wonderful resource for knowing about empaths, teaching about empaths, and Alicia is an international best-selling author and writer. She wrote the book, I Feel Too Much, which I highly recommend. I love that book. A how-to guide for the beginner empath. And let me tell you, I read this last year, and I will not give this book away because I keep having to refer back to it. And Alicia McBride also wrote The Empath Effect, Powerful Stories of Love, Courage, and Transformation, which celebrated its first anniversary on February 2nd, 2023. That was last month. And Alicia is I can never pronounce this right, Reiki Master, certified yoga instructor. Alicia started the Holistic Chamber of Commerce, where Alicia is president, and that is in Pennsylvania, where she lives. And I want to welcome Alicia McBride to Chatting with Betsy. Welcome, Alicia.
Hi, Betsy. Thank you so much for having me on here again. Oh, my gosh. You were so fantastic the first time. I am super happy to be back. Your energy is wonderful.
Oh, thank you. How do you pronounce it? Is it Reiki or Reiki? I can never remember. Reiki. Okay, I had it right.
Yeah.
I had it right. Alicia, we were talking before we started to record, and I have to say that I'm an empath, and I didn't know it until, I'm going to say, about 5 or 6 years ago. And when I read about Alicia, I knew I had to have her on my show, and we had a great time. It was back in August or September. I said, oh, you got to come back, Alicia. And your book, I Feel Too Much, helped me so much. And knowing what you went through, you're welcome, inspired me. And then your other book, The Empath Effect, I have to tell the audience, it's different stories, folks. So you could just pick up this book and read, a story. I didn't read all the stories. I read some stories. I'm still not done. And the theme, the common thread, is that I feel that everyone felt that they were different, and they didn't know why. And then when they found out they were empaths, it all made sense. I think that's so cool.
Yes. I think one of the trademark traits of an empath is that you feel different from everyone else. Society has this normal way, and an empath is kind of outside of that. We are just a little bit different. And you can see in the book, there are 22 authors in this book, 22 people who contributed a piece of their lives to this book. And it's beautiful. It's beautiful. So we're all telling a different story. So each story in the book is completely unique. But we're all kind of saying the same thing in the end, we're all headed in the same direction. And you're right, one of the main themes is that we all just felt a little bit different, from regular people, from the normal way of life, from how people normally look at things. I think an empath's perspective is very different from average. We see things on a deeper level than most people see them. We certainly feel things on a deeper level. You feel something all the way through to your core. It is soul deep when you feel something. And that is special. That is to be cherished. But I think society in general wants to walk all over that and stomp it out of you and harden, make you harder and toughen you up. And I totally disagree with that. I think that soft, sensitive part of you should be nourished and cherished and healed. And that part of you can grow into this beautiful person that you are meant to be, instead of, a soft center with a hard shell who's probably mean to everyone.
Yes, that's so true. I don't remember which story it was that I had just read. The author of the story in your book, she knew she was different. She was one of 4 daughters, and her sisters were blonde, blue-eyed. She always felt that she didn't look like them. She was different. And I'm thinking, you know what? I was born with brown hair, brown eyes. I don't look like my siblings. They were born with blonde hair, blue eyes, but 2 of them changed to hazel. And I could just relate to that story because I was different and very sensitive. Go ahead.
That was actually Deborah's story that you're referring to, Deborah Buring. And yes, so she says the same thing. I was a third of 4 girls. All my sisters were born blonde-haired and blue-eyed. I had dark hair and brown eyes. Though we were from the same parents, we looked nothing alike. That's her first parent.
Yeah. And then it's like, well, I had 2 brothers and a sister, but, we don't look alike, and I was a dark-haired one.
Yeah.
And I was man, I can relate to that.
That's really funny because I also have 3 siblings, and I'm the only one with brown hair and brown eyes. I have a sister with like strawberry blonde hair and blue eyes. I have a sister with blonde hair and blue eyes, and I have a brother with blonde hair and blue eyes.
That's funny.
Between the 3 of us, we have different parents. So I have half siblings, so we do have some different parents, but I'm the only one with brown hair and brown eyes.
That is funny. Do you think, Alicia, now this question might sound off the wall, but do you think that and growing up in a family, and you're the empath, a child of the empath, whether they're a boy or a girl, that they look different because they were empaths? They look different from their siblings or their parents because they are different?
Probably not. Yeah, I would say, that's kind of random and coincidental. It's all about genetics.
Right.
My brother is an empath too, and he has blonde hair and blue eyes, just like our sister.
Okay.
So I would say probably not. That's probably coincidental, but that's fun to think about.
Yeah, I was just thinking about it. It's just had occurred to me to ask that question. So you know what, folks? I ask questions that I'm curious about.
That's great.
They may not make sense to the audience, but it makes sense to me.
Well, I bet somebody listening to this thought the same thing, because we were headed in that direction.
Yeah, it was probably somebody wanted to know about it. I have discovered as I've gotten older, more mature, Alicia, that I feel a connection, and I know this might sound woo-woo to some people, to dead people.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't feel that when I was younger, but I do now as I'm older.
Probably more open. Yeah, you're probably more open now than you were when you were younger. It's a little bit more accepted. That part of your life is a little more, you've accepted that a little bit more. So you probably are more open, and you are more connected to the spirit world. And you can be like the sixth sense and say, I see dead people.
and I have to catch myself because I'll writing, I belong to different support groups, and I'd be like, well, your mom was really proud of you, and she would have wanted you to be happy. And thinking, they're going to think I'm weird. They're going to think, how do you know what my mother would want or my dad? But just like, like with Matt, I don't feel that he's gone. I still feel Matt with me, and I still smell him.
No. Love that.
And I thank you. And I have gotten signs from him, not recently, but no, that's not true, because when you're in tune, I had a stress test done last week, and I know this to other people might sound crazy, and I was like, oh, I hope I could make it. And I just felt Matt say to me, Betsy, I'm right behind you, holding you up. You're going to do this.
Aww.
You're going to do it. And I did it. And my test results, thankfully, were good, yeah. And I felt like he was right in back of me, holding me.
And he probably was.
Yeah, it's just, what, folks, you might think I sound off the wall, but I didn't know that I was an empath as a child. It wasn't until as an adult. And then it all made sense why I felt the emotions that I felt so deep. I remember distinctly this, Alicia. It was the January of '87. And I said to Matt, I got a really bad feeling something's going to happen. I had this foreboding feeling something bad was going to happen. 2 weeks later, my uncle died.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, thank you. And that was like weird. Like I felt something was going to happen.
Yeah, you knew. You knew.
Yeah. And do you know why some people are empaths and like some aren't? Or does everyone have the capability to be one, but they're just not open to it?
That is a great question. So so everybody you ask is going to have a slightly different answer to that question, but I'll give you my opinion.
Sure.
So I think that an empath is born that way. I do not think empaths are created. Like some people will say that an empath is an empath because they experienced a tremendous amount of trauma in the beginning of their life and it turned them into an empath. I don't agree with that. I believe that an empath is born this way. Like we're just genetically this way, open to, incredible levels of sensitivity. It's the way your brain is wired. However, I also believe that everyone can get in touch with their intuition. Everyone can get in touch with the spirit, spirit, God, the universe, whatever language you use is great. I believe that everyone can get in touch with their sensitivity no matter what their current level of sensitivity is. Like if they are not sensitive at all, I believe they can still get in touch with their sensitivity and their inner softness. I think being an empath makes that a heck of a lot easier. I think being an empath makes that come naturally. And I think being an empath means that you automatically are sensitive. You automatically feel all of the sensitivities. But can you learn how to do it? Yeah. To the level, can you learn how to do it to the deepest level that I would call, say an empath can? I don't know. But I do believe everyone can learn to, embrace their sensitivity to a certain extent. But I think being an empath means that you automatically do it without knowing it at first.
Yeah. That's interesting. I did hear that also, that people who have suffered trauma sometimes turn out to be empaths. Do you feel that, what's your opinion on empaths and having chronic pain?
Holy camole, do they go hand in hand?
Oh, wow.
They absolutely go hand in hand. I think there are so many empaths. I think there are a ton of empaths out there who don't know that they're an empath, who suffer from chronic pain and chronic fatigue and chronic illness because they are taking on all of the energy from everyone and everything around them, and they don't know they're doing it. You don't know you're doing it. All you know is that you get up every day and you're miserable and you're tired and you're cranky and you have this illness, like this illness or that illness, or, you know, there's always something wrong. There's always a reason why you don't feel good. And you don't understand it. You don't know where it's coming from. You don't know. You don't know. You don't know what you don't know. And that, I believe that is part of the reason I am here. I want to find all the empaths, like in the X-Men, when he puts on the helmet to find all of the other X-Men. That is why I'm here. I want to find all of the empaths because you have to know. And then once you know, you can take steps to heal it. You can take steps to better your life so you're not tired and exhausted and in constant form of illness because you're healing your body from the inside. You're healing your soul. And that is what I love helping people do. I love finding the beginners. I love finding the people who don't know that they're super sensitive or they don't understand. They don't know the word empath. I love finding those people and saying, look, there's a whole other way. There's a whole other way of life that you can embrace, that you can learn to love yourself. You can grow as a person, and you can become the person that you were meant to be. And that person does not live in constant sickness. The person that you were meant to be does not live in constant sickness. So I think
wow. That, you know what? That makes perfect sense. I mean, I started getting migraines at the age of 14. I'm 65. And I thought they would go away. They're not. They're even more constant than before. And as I was telling you earlier, I noticed that when I'm with my siblings, or if I was with my parents, and I know that sounds terrible, folks, but it's the truth, I would get a migraine, a bad migraine. And it's because of the energy that ebbs from my siblings. And from, like when my dad was alive, or my mom's still alive, but not so much her as I would say my siblings. And I could just feel it. And, I used to think, no, it's just a coincidence. And then I said, no, it can't not be a coincidence anymore. And and I'm more in tune now, because when I did see them back in November of last year, I already had a migraine because of the weather. But then afterwards, I had to lay down. I just had to take medicine and lay down. There's the toxic energy that flows from my siblings. I don't have to worry because they don't listen to my show anyway. Excuse me. They would be mortified if they did when I talk about them. It's just the way it is. And, my son, he even noticed. He noticed how my sister treats me. And that's why I was never comfortable in my family. I always felt like I didn't belong. And now I know why. I don't play their games.
And that's what toxic energy does to you. Toxic energy literally makes you sick. You got a migraine.
Yes. Yeah. Very sensitive. Like, I'm more so sensitive to weather change now than I ever was. And I think it's just that I'm more sensitive. And just like I'm more, that was weird when I first noticed this, but being in tune even to people who are deceased.
Right.
And just looking at their picture, knowing what they were like. It was bizarre.
You're getting information. You're receiving extra information from the universe or God, or whatever language you want to use.
So it's a gift then to be an empath.
Yes.
It's not anything to be ashamed of. Yes. Yeah.
I think so.
Sometimes I say to my son, I can't explain why I feel the way I feel. I can't explain why I know things. But sometimes I wish I didn't. But maybe it's a way of preparing me,
Why?
that something's going to happen.
Why do you wish that you didn't know things?
Sometimes I wish I didn't know so that I wouldn't have that feeling, like that deep foreboding feeling that I have.
Because it's uncomfortable.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. We don't want to be uncomfortable.
Right. You hit the nail on the head, Alicia. Yes, that's true.
I don't like being uncomfortable.
Yeah. Like, I knew that Matt was going to die before the doctor in hospice. I knew that. And I told Josh, actually, as Matt progressed, it was May 2019, and I take him out to the emergency room because there's such a change in his behavior, but he didn't have an infection. He just progressed. And I remember telling Josh, your dad's going to probably die at the end of 2019 or very early 2020. And Matt died January 1st, 2020.
Wow.
I just knew.
You knew. And that's scary. Oh, my gosh, knowing that's scary. It's uncomfortable. It does not feel good.
No, it doesn't.
Not feel good. No. My chiropractor, oh, my gosh, I love my chiropractor. She's amazing. She combines energy healing with chiropractics, and she's a medical intuitive. She talks to my body, and she tells it to crack itself, and it does. I love her to pieces. So a couple months ago, I see her regularly once a month, and a couple months ago, she told me to get comfortable in the discomfort. And I did not like hearing that.
Nobody does, right? Get comfortable. I got to write this down. Get comfortable with the discomfort. I'm writing this down because this is good.
All right. Let's all write it down.
Go ahead.
Comfortable in the discomfort.
In the discomfort, yes.
So she told me that, and although I did not enjoy hearing that, and it immediately made me uncomfortable, but I embraced it. So when someone gives you a piece of advice, you can do two things. You can throw it away, or you can embrace it to some level. And I fully embraced this. I knew it was good advice, and I knew that I needed to take this advice. And I did. I tried. I am still trying my best to be comfortable in the discomfort, because life is not always comfortable. And I think as sensitive people, as a sensitive person, you often seek only the positive emotions because they feel good and they feel better. And I will be very honest and say I sometimes do the same thing. I chase the happy feelings. I chase the good feelings. And I think some of that is okay. I think some of that is very healthy to look on the bright side of something and, be positive, look for the silver lining. I think some of that is very healthy. I think it is unhealthy to force positivity when you do not need to be positive. I also think that it's okay to sit in your sadness. I think it is absolutely okay to sit in your disgusting yuck and feel uncomfortable. You sit there for as long as you need to until you are capable of processing through that yuck and that discomfort. So get comfortable in the discomfort. I wrote about that in I Feel Too Much a couple of years ago before she gave me that good information. But I wrote about it in a different way. So it's also funny how, I kind of acknowledged that in my book, but she put it into different words. So I took the advice differently than I did a few years before that. You know what I mean? So
Right, yeah.
I think when you say something in a different way, it vibes again with you. It re-resonates. You're like, oh yeah, it's a good reminder. And you see it in this whole different perspective. So I think that's what she did for me in saying that. And I hope that helps you too.
Yes.
Because, it's okay to sit in your yuck. It is okay to be uncomfortable. Get comfortable in the discomfort. It's great.
Yeah.
Try it.
That's true. That's like, talking about uncomfortable things. We have to talk about the uncomfortable till it becomes comfortable. Yeah. And if people don't talk, people think, especially when someone dies, I'll just use that as an example. I have to be strong. I can't cry. I can't show my emotion. But you know what? You have to sit with your. That's not true. You have to sit with your. It's okay to cry, folks. It's not a sign of weakness, like we're taught, especially if you're my age. And that goes for men and women. You have to sit with your pain and go through it. And it's okay to say, I'm sad. Let's find out why I'm sad. Let's explore it. Because I know the more I would resist being sad, it persisted. So I just say, you know what? I'll admit I'm sad. Now let me figure out why I am sad so I can acknowledge where it's coming from. And, sometimes we could be both happy and sad in different occasions. A holiday time is really difficult for me. Yeah. And I realized, from Thanksgiving to New Year's, is more difficult than any time of the year. And I realized that's because Matt was dying at that time. So not only is it a holiday time, I get memories. And how can you not, how do you forget? You can't forget that Matt was dying at that time. So it's a double whammy for me. And I just learned to acknowledge my triggers. Christmas music, I'll burst out crying. Just sometimes it'll just hit me. And, and so I just acknowledge it. And if we would validate our feelings, whether you're empath or not, that's what, I believe, we should do. It's okay to say, I'm having a bad day today. I'm having a difficult day. And you know what, Alicia, and I think this is where empaths differ from other people. We will hold space for someone.
Yes.
We'll say, I'm here for you. I don't know how you feel. You could tell me how you feel, and I'll just sit here and I'll hold your hand and I'll hug you and love you through what you're telling me and experiencing without judgment. And so many people, it's so sad in a way, Alicia, that people feel like they can't tell people how they feel because they're going to be judged.
Yep.
Excuse me. There's nothing worse than for someone to say to someone, you shouldn't feel that way. Get over it. Snap out of it.
Move on and get over it. No.
Yes.
And honestly, the more you ignore those feelings, like you can't just get over something. You can't just ignore the feelings that you're having because they're going to get worse. And they're going to come out in different areas of your life. And it can be in the form of addiction. It can be in the form of, like angry behaviors. It will come out, those feelings, and whatever happened is going to come out in another area of your life, whether you want it to or not. So if you don't validate your feelings and you don't process through them and you don't sit with yourself, it's going to come out in another area of your life, and you're not going to be happy about that either. So you might as well just process through what you need to process, because you're not going to be happy with how it rears its ugly head later.
True. It will come back to bite you right in the rear end. I noticed something. I had interviewed someone, and I heard her on TEDx, and it was about grieving. And I realized I was buying stuff. Like, I don't know, after Matt died, and it was winter time, and I just wanted a cocoon. And then, COVID happened, and I went crazy buying pajamas. I didn't need them. Pajamas and fragrance. Because when I was little, and that's how, my mother would take me shopping. It's the only time I had her attention, and it made me feel special. But I just wanted this cozy feeling. And I wasn't acknowledging at that time. I thought I was, but I really wasn't 100% realizing and accepting how I felt. And I was shopping to make up for it, to comfort myself. And I realized that
people who buy their way out of things, who shop to cover their feelings. I know a few people who do that. I think that's kind of common.
Retail therapy.
You don't need to spend all that money.
Right. Yeah. And I realized, it struck me, when sometimes, this is what I love to hear about hearing people speak, because you can hear something from someone, and that could be the same thing, it doesn't register, but someone else could say it, and boom, it hits you right in the face. And
it's all about timing.
Yes. And boom, that hit me in the face, and I said, oh, my goodness, I have been buying this stuff to run away from my feelings, to help me feel better instead of facing it and going through it. And when I realized it, I had stopped. Like, I didn't put myself in debt or anything, but I really, it was like what you would call a wake-up call, a aha moment for me of what I was doing.
Yeah. And, pat yourself on the back for being able to stop, because not everyone is able to be aware and then to stop what they're doing. So I want you to know how awesome that is that you were able to do it.
Oh, thank you. And that's why, I love having people on like you, Alicia. You're passionate about helping people, and for people to know, what, we think we're the only ones who feel the way that we do, or going through a particular situation, but we're not alone. There's a lot of people out there, and I think I don't want people to feel that they are alone, because they're not. And I always, even when I worked in the preschool, I wanted every child to feel special. I wanted them to feel special because I didn't feel special as a child. Yep. And I would point something out to each child. And they just loved that. They'd go home and tell their parents, oh, Miss Betsy said this, Miss Betsy said that. And I just, it made me feel good. And I noticed with children, that when I pass by children, and not that I'm bragging about myself, but I could not figure out, like, I think there's something wrong the way I look. Kids would just look at me. They literally would stop what they're doing and just look at me. I'd wave at them.
Yeah.
They were I'm thinking, why are they looking at me?
They feel you. It's beautiful.
Oh, well, thank you. I liked working with kids. They drove me crazy, but I liked
that's like
working.
My kids. I love them. I love them to pieces, but they drive me crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's you know what, folks, some things like I can't really put into words, I can't explain. And I was talking to Alicia about this where we started to record. Even my son, Josh, he says to me, Mom, you know everything, which I don't, but he thinks I do. He goes, everything you've said comes true. And you just know. And it's really something that really we can't explain. And, I think when we're in tune with our selves, then I think we're in tune with other people. Do you feel that way, Alicia?
I think so. I would agree with you. I think the more that you are in touch with your own energy, two things happen. Well, multiple things, but we'll talk about two. One, you are able to differentiate your energy from someone else's. So that differentiation happens. I said that wrong, but you know what I mean. So you're able to tell the difference between your energy and someone else's. And then the second thing that happens is that it puts you more in touch. So the more in tune with yourself that you are, the more in tune with everything else. It opens you up to a higher level of intuition, a higher level of vibration, whatever you want to call it. It opens you up to a higher level of consciousness. And that allows you to connect more easily with other people, other energies, other things, other energetic sources. And I think that's beautiful. I absolutely think it's beautiful.
I think so. I think so too. And, when you, just like in my situation, I felt because of Matt's condition, I had this deep soul connection with him like never before. And it was more towards really his last year of life that I really had that deep soul connection. And I think that's why I knew when he was dying. And even when he was up in the hospice, and I asked the hospice doctor, how long does Matt have? He said he didn't know, but I knew.
Yeah,
I just knew it. It's just something that you can't, I can't explain. And I knew when Matt went up to that hospice, I said to Josh, your father's going up there and he's not coming home. He's going up there to die. But they thought, the hospice thought, he was just going up for a medication adjustment to get his meds adjusted. They didn't have a clue because they didn't see what I was seeing until they noticed. And I just I want to encourage the audience. If you think you're an empath, you need to connect with Alicia. I forgot to mention that you have a Facebook group, Beginner Empath.
Yes.
That's the name of and I highly recommend people joining it. I learned a lot.
Thank you.
From your group. You're welcome. And do you still do your podcast?
Yeah, sometimes. I have a podcast on YouTube called Empath Secrets Revealed. I've been doing a lot of reels on Facebook, so you can connect with me, Alicia McBride, on Facebook, and I do post reels regularly with little tidbits and pieces of advice, snippets. Today I made one for intuition. And then I do have the Beginner Empath group on Facebook, which is thriving. We have 5,000 plus members.
Wow.
And, people post questions and funny memes, appropriate things for empaths. It's a great group. They're very supportive. And I think knowing, like you said earlier, knowing that you're not alone is key. You as an empath and a sensitive person, I often felt like I was alone and I was the only one. So for me, creating community was super important. So I created a community through the Beginner Empath group. I'm creating community through the Allentown Reading chapter of the Holistic Chamber of Commerce. Creating community for me is really important. I'm also a dancer, and I absolutely love the dance community. I believe a lot of dancers are empaths, and they may not know it. So I'm super passionate about creating community because for me it was really important. So I do a lot of that.
Well, yes, you are a dancer. I've seen your post on dancing. I love to. Well, I don't know how to dance, but I just love to dance. I just, I hear music, and I just like.
Hey, you move your body.
Yes, I just moving my body, and it, it feels good, to do that, and I connect a lot with music. Music really helped me. Really through caregiving, I would go into. I would take my bath at night, listen to John Denver. I love John Denver, and just pretend I was in the mountains or, on the beach, and it was a lifesaver for me. And, sometimes we can't even explain, like, even dreams. I've had dreams, and they've come true.
Yep.
And it's really bizarre. That's really a bizarre thing. I mean, I remember dreaming of when we lived in another town, people coming to look at the place, packing up, and that actually happened. And I dreamt it before it happened. Really strange things. One of the most unique ones, and I said this on the show when you were in the last time, but my brother who died, Bradley, I had a dream he was a mailman. They handed me a letter. And 2 weeks later, Josh got a gift from Bradley. And that was what Bradley was trying to tell me, that I was going to, And that kind of shook me to my core, though, because I was like, wow.
Give me chills.
That's really weird.
I just got chills just now.
Never had that dream like that before. I have to ask you this, Alicia. I know this might sound strange. Can an empath feel when someone dies?
Sure. And I don't think you have to be an empath to feel when someone dies. I just think you have to be in touch with your own energy and in touch with their energy. You have to have that sensitivity. But I absolutely believe that someone can feel when someone else dies. And I would call that a gift. Again, I would call it, we keep talking about gifts. I would call that a gift. It's beautiful.
Because when my brother died, I knew he was dying. I knew he was going to die that night. But I knew when he did die, because I felt, and I never felt like this before or since my brother died, I felt a cold draft around my feet, and I felt such coldness in my fingers that my joints actually hurt.
You're giving me
like
more
they
chills.
Were freezing. They felt so cold, like it hurt. cold.
Yeah.
And I said, I know you're gone, Bradley. You're coming to me to say goodbye.
Yeah.
And I never felt like that since. And I know, like, if I tell people who don't understand, they're going to say, Betsy, you are really out there. Like, what are you taking?
No.
And,
well, I guess it depends on who you talk to.
And I'm not taking any, what do you call it, psychedelic drugs, people. I cannot even take prescription medicine. So it's not from that. It's something that actually, happened, that how I felt that so cold like that.
Yeah.
And
I've heard that from people before too. You feel that like icy cold on the back of your neck.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That like physical connection to spirit. It's a physical connection to spirit where they're they're physically very close to you. It's creepy,
yes, and
but I'm still gonna call it.
It is. Yeah, it's not like chills, folks. Like when you have the flu, okay, or fever and that kind. No, it's not that. It was, and I told my son that it was so cold, like my fingers hurt. Yeah. It was just such a coldness. It was really weird, very strange. But I knew it had to be my brother. That he had passed. And then my other brother called and said Bradley's died. And I said I knew it. I knew it.
Yeah, you did.
It's just really bizarre. But I want the audience to know that if you want to learn about being an empath, if you think you are, I highly recommend you reading Alicia McBride's books. Where can they find your books, Alicia?
So I Feel Too Much and The Empath Effect are available both on Amazon.com and booksamillion.com.
And also
HealingLightEmpath.com.
Yes, I was going to ask you about your website.
Yep. So my website is healinglightempath.com, and on there's all kinds of information about me and all the services that I offer, and of course the books. So everything is on healinglightempath.com. It's a good starting point.
And I highly recommend going on that website, and it will be in the blog. And you sometimes hold classes.
I actually have a couple of master classes up on my website currently, and they're the kind that you can watch anytime that's convenient for you. It's not a, sign up for this specific time. It's a watch it at your convenience. And I'm super excited about those. One of them is Block Toxic Energy, and holy cow, we were talking earlier about your toxic
Right.
feelings.
Oh, my God.
So
yeah.
This is an entire master class, an hour devoted to learning how to block toxic energy. That's fabulous. The other one is learning how to follow and get in touch with your intuition. So we did talk a little bit about that too, getting in touch with your own energy and your own feelings and learning how to differentiate your energy from someone else's, and learning to be open to messages from spirit and the universe. So that is, getting in touch with your intuition. So I have those 2 master classes up now, and that's I'm excited about those. I realize I'm a little biased, but
that's
other people have told me that they like them too. It's not just me. Yeah,
your classes are great, and you also I'm on your email list.
Yeah.
And thank you. So I'm in Alicia's group, folks. I don't know what it is with Facebook that I don't get notifications, from a lot of groups. I don't know what it is. If I think about it, I got to go, I haven't been in that group. I haven't had notifications. Let me go in that group and look. But I don't know if Facebook is changing its, whatever it's doing. But I have to go back and take a look in your group and go on. I have to go on the website myself and look up these master classes. But I think that you're great. And, folks, you have to listen to Alicia McBride's YouTube, because when you hear, I'm not saying you're hearing Alicia now, but when you see her and you hear Alicia, you have such a beautiful energy and such a beautiful soul. You could just connect instantly, with Alicia. And I want to thank you for coming on again, Alicia, and doing what you're doing to help people realize that being an empath is a positive thing, and how we feel. It's okay. And,
yes, thank you.
You walk with intuition. I have always gone by my instincts and my intuition, and it's never failed me. You've got to, I tell people all the time, go by your gut instinct, go by your intuition.
Exactly.
It might even save your life, really. If you feel like you're in an unsafe environment, you probably are. And get away. But it's really such a pleasure to have you on again. And I want to thank you for coming on.
I really appreciate
it. Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you having me back. This is wonderful. I love a callback. I connected with you so well. Seriously, your energy is great. Talking to you is it's easy. It's fantastic. It feels good. Talking to you feels good. It's one of those moments where I'm going to chase good feelings. And I think that's a healthy moment to chase good feelings, is talking to you. So thank you for all the kind words and for the encouragement. And, thank you for letting me do this.
Well, you are welcome. It's my pleasure. And I forgot I get so excited, folks, when I have people on. I forgot my disclaimer. The views of the guests may not represent those of the host of the station. I forgot to say that in the beginning. I get so excited. I just want to jump into talking to my guests, because I get so excited. And you know what? It's just so wonderful when you have a connection with someone. And I know that I saw your press release in the radio interview newsletter. Mm-hmm. And when I read about you, I knew I had to connect with you. I just knew it. And I said, I got to connect. And I'm so glad that I did, because I joined Alicia's group and I learned a lot. And I listened to Alicia's, I had listened to you on YouTube and learned some things that, helped me personally. And, I feel what helps me will help someone else. And if someone's out there, feeling like, oh, I'm too sensitive, I shouldn't be that sensitive. That's how I felt. I felt like that, mm-hmm. folks. Sure, I know you did, Alicia. Why am I so sensitive?
I typed that into Google. Typed into Google, what is wrong with me? Those are the exact words what I typed into Google. What is wrong with me?
Yeah. That's it. That's what I used to think.
There's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you.
That's right. When you're told you're too sensitive, you're a crybaby. Well, you know what? I'm 65 now. I'm not ashamed of my age. Am I still sensitive? Yes, I am, folks. Do I still cry? I sure do. And you know what? I've cried on this show, Shining with Betsy sometimes. And I'm not ashamed of it. I'm not ashamed anymore of who I am, or to show who I am. And that's the way it is. Thank you. I never used to think of it that way, but it is. It is a gift to feel deeply and to feel for other people. And I want to thank everyone for listening. Please share this show to help others. That's what the show is about, is to help other people. And all the information about Alicia McBride will be in the blog that Jeannie White, who's station manager, writes. So thank you, Jeannie, for doing the blog, and Jeannie produces the show. And I want to thank Lillian Caldwell, who's CEO of Passionate World Talk Radio, who makes this all possible. And if you aren't already a subscriber, please subscribe to Chatting with Betsy. It is for free on Spreaker, Spotify, iHeart, YouTube, just to name a few. And when you share this show, and I do have phenomenal guests on, you're helping me to honor my husband's memory. And my husband, Matt, is and was and always will be my catalyst, my inspiration for all that I do. So I'm just trying to help people. And when you shared my show, you're helping me with my mission. So I want to thank you for those who share. And, please consider sharing, because you're helping someone. And we never know how far our ripples go, whether it's doing things for the good or not so good. They all have ripples. So let's create wonderful ripples. And as I always say at the end of my show, in a world where you can be anything, to please be kind and shine your light bright. Because if we were all kind and we shined, it would be a much happier and brighter and kinder world. And that's what I have to say today, folks. Thanks again for listening. This is Betsy Wurzel, your host of Chatting with Betsy on Passionate World Talk Radio. Bye-bye now.